Welcome to Amanda Art. My name's Amanda and I like dinosaurs and art. Today I'm working on a recreation I did of a drawing 2 years ago, and as you can see, I started it by finding my reference pictures, which are pictures I actually took or were my previous drawing from the year prior. And so again, I struggle with drawing humans and figures, getting the proportions right, the scaling right. So for this one, it was really important to me to create it, and so I was focusing more on all the other elements. I decided to trace the image of the girl just so I could get the practice in getting the proportions correctly on there, and I found that to be a helpful tool for me. I think I want to do a video where I practice drawing a human by not tracing and then tracing it and seeing what areas I'm seeing incorrectly or not recreating properly, and just so I can improve that skill. And so in this video I just traced the image I wanted because it was exactly what I was looking for. And again, it's another reference picture of my sister, so fun. And so after that, I did do a hand, and if you think I struggled with human figures, hands are worse. So I quickly took a picture of my hand, and it looks really awkward, but it worked perfectly for the angle I was looking for. And then I changed the Apple Pencil to a paintbrush to fit more of what I was going for with this image. As you can see, I traced those with the red, and then after I did the red pencil, I used blue and I didn't trace anything. I just traced over my other lines to help it become more of my drawing in a sense. And then after that, I used the black to define all my lines. My hope is one day I won't need to trace the figures and all that, but right now I'm still learning. I still don't know proportions very well. I need to practice that more. I just had the urge to create this piece, and I didn't want to spend an extra 10 minutes trying to 10, 20, 30 minutes, trying to get those proportions exactly right, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it easily. You could see me playing around with the background a little bit, and then I realized I should work on shading everything else and then figure out my background just so I know what vibe I'm going for. I guess vibe is the word I'm going for too. Little background story on the original art I did for this, which you saw a little bit at the beginning, but there is going to be at the very end a little bit to where you could see the before picture and the after picture. And so the before picture is actually from when I did a series for our old church for their Celebrate Recovery program, which I think is an amazing program, and I 100% support it. I love it. They were heading to Africa for a missions trip, and they asked me to create art around the different steps that they do, because the people in Uganda, I believe is where they were going, learned a lot quicker, and it stuck in their heads to see the images of what they were being taught. And so I just created images from their steps. This is actually from step 2 of the program, and step 2 is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And then the Bible verse, which is what inspired this the original drawing, and I guess this one as well, is for it is God who works in you and to act according to his good purpose. Philippians 2:13. And I really liked that concept. So in my original one, she isn't standing and painting or drawing, whatever she's doing in my piece. She is just sitting, looking hurt and almost like defeated, almost from either life choices or something happened in her life. Just whatever you want to take from it, she's just hurting. And I have it to where it's God's hand is covered in paint, and the paintbrush is touching her back and it's starting to fill her with color. And she doesn't have a lot of color in her in the original image, which is the same with the end of this image. She doesn't have a lot of color on her. It's just a little bit to show that he's bringing her to life or something, or he's working on her like a work of art, you know? And the reason I chose God's hand to be covered in paint and the paintbrush to be covered in paint, most people probably would think, you know, God is probably a very clean painter and, you know, he wouldn't be covered in a mess. Well, I picture God like I picture almost any other artist out there who paints. When you get in the zone, sometimes it's so hard to stay clean. And so when you're in the zone, you don't notice that your hand is covered in paint. Like, there's a lot of times I'll have paint on my head and I won't even know until my husband says something. Or I'll have paint covered all over my hands and I won't even notice for a long time because I'm just so in the zone with painting. And that's how I picture God, is he's not worried about his hands being clean or this or that. He just wants to create. He just wants to make beauty happen. And so that's why in my drawings I wanted his hand to be covered in paint, because I just picture him having so much fun that he's like, I'll clean my hands later, I just gotta keep painting and stuff. And for me, that makes it more relate to him as a creator too, because he is a creator. That's the first thing the Bible says about God. Genesis 1:1 is the very first thing in the Bible. The very first thing it says is, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The very first thing that God reveals about himself is that he's a creator. And so that to me says he loves to create and just has so much fun doing it. And I love that. So that's why I made his hand messy and the paintbrush messy. I also have a lot of fun shading things. So after I get the initial outline done, for me the shading and getting the areas to look right is more fun to me and stuff. So that also helps me a lot when I just trace the initial outline, just so I can get to the part I'm more excited about, which I know is a bad habit. I need to practice my people that I just haven't had time to sit down and practice, and so I need to do that. right here you could see me. I was trying to figure out what to do because when I did the background, I didn't want to worry about being covered by the background. So what I did with that blue that was popping up there is I put a blue background over or underneath everything, and then I put white on top of that one or something. I can't remember what I did, but I was erasing around so the white would stay underneath the images I just created, and then the blue just showed me where I was erasing, so that way I knew if I got it all correctly. And then when I add the background on in just a minute here, you'll see that it doesn't cover up everything. I can play with it and stuff, and it stays behind the work I was working on. And so it was very time consuming, but very worth it. I also messed it up the first time I tried it and got pretty far, and I realized, wait, that's not the way I need to do this. I played around with different paint brushes so that way I can find something that had the look I was going for and helped it feel more like actual paint on the hand and the paintbrush. And when I got to choosing the color that I wanted to be touching the girl in the image, I decided to stick with the bright blue like I did with the original. I just thought it'd be a fun way to kind of really connect them together. I also flipped the image to where it's at the same angles as the original is, and so now she's painting left-handed, but I don't mind that. Here is the fun part of the painting where I get to choose whatever colors I want to be all messily painted on God's hand. This was fun to me. I had so much fun choosing what colors to add, and I had to add them to the paintbrush too, and I was like, it doesn't really matter where I place them because when you're in the zone painting, you don't even notice what happens, what smudges happen and all that. So this was so much fun to me. I smudged them out too because I don't think they'd be perfect paint strokes. They would smudge on things and all that. And that to me just helped make it, because at first I was like, ooh, these are kind of too bright. I think eventually, after I got all the paint strokes I wanted on here, I put the paint strokes underneath the shading that I did. That really made it fit together for me. So the hardest part of this drawing was actually deciding what on earth I'm going to put on that canvas, because to me it needed to be something that kind of fit with it but also didn't take away from the actual drawing. And so I played around with different ideas. I played around with putting the image I have for next week on the canvas. I played around with all these different things, and I just could not think of what to draw. And then it hit me. I did a Bible study a few months ago, and during the Bible study, it was a Beth Moore Bible study. During that, she talked about giving her heart to God, and I drew an image in my journal of a girl holding a heart and it's floating like she's giving it to God. And I was like, I've been wanting to play with this idea for a while, but I don't know if I want it to be a full piece. So I decided to have it be on the canvas, and so that was really fun. I didn't use any reference pictures or trace anything for this one, so you could kind of see my proportions for this one not being as accurate, but that's okay. It's just one of those, I need something to put on the canvas, and I just did this imagery because it was something that's been on my heart for a little while. I played around with the idea of just doing a Valentine's heart, and then I was like, no, it has to be an anatomical heart. That's where I used a reference for, because I don't know how an anatomical heart's supposed to be laid out. So I looked up a reference, found a reference, didn't trace it. I just eyeballed it and called it good. I whited out everything, or not whited out everything. I just like put a white paper down, I guess is the way to say it, and then I then I drew the girl with the heart on that paper, and I did it 2 times. I did the red and then I did the blue to define the lines a little bit more, and then when it gets onto the canvas I did the black, so that way it could stand out just a little bit more. I also did blue for the arm and the heart first, because I realized her forearm was really long, and I'm like, I'm not going for perfection here, but that's pretty long. So as I'm watching this, I see that I just did the blue for that part, and then I think I just went in with the black line to finish it. Also laid it out on the canvas just so everything is within the canvas. I'm not going too big, not too small, and making sure that the important parts of this image is showing but not taking over. I also played around with the idea of having a background for the canvas image, but I ended up with not doing that and actually just dulling the black pencil marks down a lot, just so it didn't take away from my initial image. I went back and worked on the easel a little bit more. I wasn't happy with how that turned out because it kind of blended in with the background, so off-screen recording, I went back and worked on that more. So the final image you'll see is completely done. The easel got worked on again, and everything else is completely finished. I'm so happy with how this turned out, and I'm just so happy with this. My church is having an open portfolio night on February 1st, and I didn't finish this one in time to get one of the nice art prints done for it, sadly, so it won't be in that one, in that portfolio night. I do have next week's video in a nice print, and that one will be featured because to me it's a little bit more important to feature that one. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate everyone who's been so kind, loving, and supportive as I start this YouTube journey. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next week. Bye!